Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5 a.m. Club. As you can see, it's a most beautiful start to the day. It's Monday morning, the beginning of the work week. I'm down here at Circular Quay, just in front of the Museum of Contemporary Art, and I have this marvellous sparkling installation where I can view the world through my own sparkly eye. Anyway, welcome to this episode, and today I'm going to be doing a book summary on a book entitled Crushing It by Gary Vaynerchuk. And Gary is an author of a few books. His first book was named Crush It, and this one here is named Crushing It. And his first book was basically a book to try and help people who are struggling to find purpose, to find work, and to create income in their lives. And it's a book where he encouraged them to basically go to garage sales, follow the Facebook, the internet, the social media, and buy products from garage sales and all of these other sort of sources, and then sell them on eBay to create an income and to build a more purposeful life. So that's the basis of where this book comes from. So let's go and do a walk and talk. As you can see, it's another glorious morning, still as anything. The flags on the harbour bridge are not moving, they're limp. It's starting to pink up there on the eastern horizon, and soon we'll have the sunrise starting to nurture us with those beautiful rays. So this book is all about personal branding and doing more things in our lives so that we can leverage off it and make the most of the big changes that are happening in terms of social media, in terms of the internet, which is providing opportunities for people to start their own businesses in ways that weren't possible in yesteryear and days gone by, where you needed a space, you needed to pay rent, you needed to have staff, you needed to advertise, and you needed to do all of these things which were a lot more difficult than what they are today. So Gary kicks off the book with an interesting quote, which I'll read. And he says here that if you are not 100% happy with your life today, it's never a waste of time to try something that could get you there. So it's all about having a crack. It's all about having a go, and not just sitting there and moping away and letting life get you down, but to embrace it, to leverage it, and to understand that we have a number of tools available to us today that our parents and grandparents didn't have, that can help anybody build a brand, build a profile, and build their own business from scratch, and leverage that and make that their life, I guess, is one way of putting it. So the first formal point to come out of this book is that our personal brands, our unique personal brands, can be created and can be monetized in a lot of ways. So you don't need to create your own product. You don't need to have anything at all other than the ability to connect with people and to get people to want to work with you and follow you. And a lot of social media influencers are the ones who fit this category. Because according to Gary, you can figure it out along the way. You don't need to have it all figured out before you start. And that's the beauty of life. Everything is figure-outable. And once you start and move along the path, you get an opportunity to grow and develop. You get an opportunity to observe new windows and new paths and learn along the way. The big problem, I guess, that perfectionists face is that they never get started because they want everything to be figured out before they start. But what Gary in this book suggests is that you can figure it out along the way. So the most important thing to do is to get moving in the first place, because that momentum, those first steps will allow you to build a head of steam, because every new path, every new road will most definitely, as we know and as we've learned through our lives, have a hump in it at some point, or a couple of humps, which you need a certain amount of momentum to get over. So that's why you need to get moving, and once you're moving, you will build up more and more momentum, and more style, and more answers. So don't just sit there waiting for life to happen. According to Gary, what you should be doing, or what he encourages to do with his call to action, is to just get started on doing whatever. So you don't need to give it too much thought, according to Gary. So you can figure it out along the way, is his point. And he says, don't try and be perfect. The important thing, according to Gary, is to make progress. Progress, not perfection, which is a really powerful point. And his call to action is that we should be just focused on delivering quality. Continue to deliver the content, and don't worry about what your customers are saying, what your customers are doing. The most important thing for you to do is to keep on generating things that may be of use to others, and sooner or later the market will voice its opinion, and the results will eventually follow. And that's exactly what I'm doing with Jim's 5 a.m. club. Even though I haven't had the traction that I was hoping, or the following that I expected, given the amount of effort and the amount of material that I've been able to generate over the past year and a half, I'm buoyed and I'm encouraged by the words of Gary, where he says that just keep on documenting, keep on producing, because sooner or later it will be of value. And don't worry too much about the likes, don't worry too much about the number of people who are following. Just keep on generating content, and the rest will sort itself out. So the second formal point to come from this book is where Gary says that he has 7 principles that he thinks that should help mark the basis of a social media presence. And we'll just go through those briefly. A lot of it is just common sense, but it's important to be able to, I guess, verbalize it in a way that we can all understand, and use it as a basis and a springboard for further discussion. So the first point he says is that we need to have the intent. People sense when you're doing something for your own personal gain and not something that will help them. People have a sixth sense for being cheated, for being conned. So it's important that you do whatever you do with the right intent, rather than doing it for your own selfish needs. So it's all about being generous to start off with, and to have other people's interests at heart rather than to be solely based on your own interest and personal gain. The second point that he says is important, and people will find you out if you're not. He says you need to be authentic. You need to be transparent and open with who you are in terms of building your personal brand, because it's this authenticity, it's this honesty which people are drawn to. You need to be passionate, and we hear this word passionate all the time. But Gary says that being passionate isn't just about being excited, because being excited is annoying. Now, we've been around excited people all our lives in many ways, but all they are is just, a pain in the ass, I guess, is one way of suggesting it. But he says that by being generous, by being optimistic, by being somebody who is genuine and really, really enjoys what they do, it will radiate. And you need to be optimistic, you need to be positive, you need to have the right vibe, the right positive energy, because nobody wants to deal with somebody who's a pessimist, somebody who's a complainer, because nothing good comes out of pessimism, negativity. Nothing good comes out of somebody who just sees the negative. So all those negative Nancys, all of those people who see the worst in the world around them, they're the ones who are not going to necessarily, in the long term, not saying that in the short term they won't get a following, because I've seen lots of people who have suggested that the property market is about to crash and drop by 40%, and the share market's going to crash, and the government's bad at this and the government's bad at that. But sooner or later they get found out, because you can't take on the housing market, you can't take on the share market, you can't take on the Australian economy. You can't bet against any of these and ever hope to create wealth and to create a body of support and following who are going to understand you and believe in you. In terms of speed, the author here says that we need to be patient to the macro, but we need to have a high speed to the micro. That's an interesting one, actually. So we need to be action oriented, but we need to be patient in terms of our overall long-term goals, because people always overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10. So what the author here is saying is to be patient for that 10-year vision, but to be urgent and to be thirsty for the short term, having speed to the micro. He also says that it's important to work hard and to work and not to outsource yourself when you are the brand. You can't outsource love, you can't outsource caring, especially for your kids and your family. There are a number of things that you can't outsource. Customer care, especially when it comes to your own personal brand, because these are unique and these are the things that enable you to stand out, according to the author. So make sure that you're not outsourcing the things that are critical for your success, but to outsource the things that anybody can do and are not going to steal away your brand and minimize or drain your brand of energy and vibe. And the last point is that we need to have a lot of attention to detail because things change very, very quickly on social media. What worked this morning may not be working in the afternoon. So you need to be very, very mindful and able to shift and to change and to experiment. Because otherwise you fall into the risk, and this is an important point, you fall into the risk of becoming traditional and to becoming the same as traditional media. So you need to be constantly changing, constantly evolving, constantly moving, and being a moving target in order to be able to trend and to make the most out of this remarkable social media platform and the internet. So the last point that the author says in this book is that instead of worrying about what particular content you're going to create, just learn to document your journey. People just want to find out what you're doing in order to compare and contrast their life to yours. They don't want a polished performance. They don't want anything which is contrived and something which is manufactured. They want something which is real and something that they can actually touch and feel and smell and relate to. This is a very important point, and hence with my 5 a.m. club, I never edit anything that I do. It's live and without edit. So even if I do a blooper along the way, even if I do something silly or make a mistake or something happens, I just go with the flow because I want it to be authentic, I want it to be real, and I want it to be raw so that we can believe in each other, be partners in each other's growth and development without feeling as if we're trying to get up on one-upmanship on each other. Because what happens is that if you try to be perfect all the time, then what you'll do is you'll freeze and you just won't get started, and your personal brand will not be born, will not develop, will not get created in the first place. So don't be too, as we said, too focused on perfection, but to spend more energy, more time on being, on making progress. And sooner or later, your personal brand will grow, will take its course, and will establish itself. So instead of handcrafting, according to the author, each post, just start by documenting what you are doing anyway. So the key is to document, and really there's no need to create, and hence what I'm doing, I'm just documenting the book summaries that I've read. I've taken some notes and I'm just describing those notes in my own language, at my own pace, to the ether, to anybody who's willing to listen, anybody who's willing to take it on board. Because as we say time and time again, learning is the ability to attach the unknown to the known. And nobody has been to the future. Nobody knows what today is going to bring, other than, of course, Novak Djokovic, who's on a plane back to Serbia or to Monte Carlo or to Spain, wherever he's going, who knows. But life is unpredictable. You just need to keep on doing what you're doing. Don't expect too much, and just learn to surf and go with the flow without creating too many waves along the way. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me on this episode. It's the beginning of the work week. It's the beginning of the Australian Open. I can't wait to watch the tennis and to see things evolve over the next couple of weeks. It is a tough competition, and as we've learnt time and time again, there is no player which is above the game, and you can't take or treat Australians as mugs and expect to get away with it. So Yassas, have a good rest of the day, enjoy the sunshine, enjoy good health, and until we chat again, bye for now. Happy Monday to all my friends and family. Yassas.